set,
go. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's actually a special week this week. What week is it?
This is the anniversary of the first time we used Maximus last year. We're barely able to become operational in time to go to the Truck Camper Adventure Rally in Quartzsite, which is coming up again in just a few days.
So it is Maximus' first birthday. And we are going to do a full tour of the camper, which we never really did a complete tour.
And he's really grown a lot in his first year. I mean, we have a lot of new features, most of which I think we've documented in some form.
Yep.
But I've just been busy for the last couple of months doing lots and lots of small things, and so we hope we'll have captured some of these on this new tour.
So let's go around the other side and take a look. If you see something you like or see something we don't mention in the tour, please drop us a comment below and check out our camper build videos. We are at the rear of the camper in our dinette area, and the things that are in this area include the mini split air conditioner, which is up over the big open back hatch, which Steve will show you how that operates. And in this area we actually have two couches that are pretty comfortable. And we have a table, and the table actually is pushed all the way back, but it can pull forward. It can actually expand, so we can use it in different ways depending on what we're doing. If we're eating a meal, if we need the space to work. And speaking of work, it also has some support for power back here, some additional cubbies for things that you might want to just tuck away and have on hand near the table. Now you can see I'm sitting on the passenger side, and that's because I wanted to show you the couch. So our couches are made with a big 4-inch foam cushion, but it actually sits on a couch frame. So there's a wood frame here that Steve made, and we added the webbing to it, and that actually gives us a little more cushion for our tushies, and this becomes a really comfortable area to sit not only at the table, but to lounge and either sit here and read or look outside and enjoy the view from the back hatch. Also, underneath the dinette is storage. It actually spans the whole length here, but we have it kind of split in half. So the first half has these big storage bins down here. This one is secured by a bar, and we just pull it out. It actually goes all the way back. So we have that space available for shoes. We have a vacuum cleaner in one of them. We have additional pantry items. And the other half is more secure, actually. You have to lift the whole frame, and we use that for longer term storage like our backpacking gear. Our kitchen galley is quite roomy. We have a full deep sink that goes down to here. We have this cutting board that we use, but it also has a cutout, so while I'm working I actually can use the sink as well to rinse or to put stuff away. We have a trash bin for our food waste, and we have a single burner induction cooktop. The other cooking appliances that we use is a convection microwave oven, and then we travel with an Instapot, which gets stored down here under the sink. As far as storage goes, we have storage over the microwave, and we put some lightweight stuff up there. We also have all these bins, so there's 6 total here in the front, and there's 2 more in the back. Now these are shallow, and the reason for that is the air conditioning condensing unit is installed on the outside of the camper. In addition to the plastic storage bins, we have some big drawers here. Now these are above the condensing unit, so it goes all the way back to here. They are quite big and roomy. This is the drink drawer. So we have our smoothie fixins and blender and coffee and drink packets. and wine openers. We also have a couple smaller drawers for utensils and smaller things like that. In our sink, we actually have a full-size kitchen faucet, but we also have a reverse osmosis system, so you'll hear more about that as well. Now, underneath the kitchen cabinet, we have a couple things. We have a hot water diverter, which what that does is it returns the cooled water from the hot water line back into the tank, so we are not wasting water. And then we also have our diesel heater tucked under here where it vents right here, so we can control the diesel heater from a remote control, and it will actually heat the camper up pretty easily. We have an air circulation system that I'll talk about in a moment, and that actually, even though the heat's coming down here, it actually moves the air through the camper from this area up into the bunk. What you can notice on the floor here is duckboard flooring, which is a series of planks on stringers with about an 1/8 inch spacing in between. And the purpose of the duckboard flooring is that it will trap the dirt, dog hair if you have dogs, underneath the floor. So the surface of the floor actually remains fairly clean in the camper, and everything else will fall down underneath, and we just clean it out periodically while we're traveling or when we get back home. Moving over from the kitchen galley, on the passenger side of the truck we have our residential fridge, which is an 11.4 cubic foot, and we have some storage above the refrigerator. And then we have our primary storage, and these are the things that we use every day. So we have storage for computers and gear, we have pantry items, and we have a pot drawer, and we have just kind of miscellaneous storage for shoes or rags, clothing bins, and then we have, of course, a dog, Mr. Cooper. He has some food, and I have some wine, so we have one drawer to ourselves for that. And in addition to the bins, we obviously have a coat rack area where we can hang coats, and Steve can hang up his button-down shirts. Lastly, a new addition to the storage areas, or I should say hanging area, is this big towel bar. It spans the length all the way over to the refrigerator and drops down, but it gives us the ability to hang or have more hanging space in certain weathers or when we have extra wet items. We have now another place where we can hang stuff up in the camper and let it dry overnight. Okay, so now I'm in the center of the camper, and this is our shower plus entryway. So we have our entryway right here. You can see the door. And over here is our shower. The way this works is this screen or shower curtain just pivots on over, and we can block it off. So we have a great little shower setup, and it dries really quick and is not a problem to clean up. The other thing that's really nice though about our shower setup, we have a regular shower head, and we have a thermostatic mixing valve, and we also have a diverter valve. Now in order to take a shower, once you're in position with that curtain, is you need to set the temperature on the thermostatic mixing valve, which will mix the hot and cold water to the optimum temperature that you desire for your shower. Before you start the shower, you turn this diverter valve, wait 5 seconds, and what that does is it removes all the cooled water out of the hot water line, so that doesn't actually come at you either. And now we save some of the cooled water in the lines, goes back to the fresh tank. We're saving a little bit of water, and the output out of the shower head is the exact temperature that you desire. In our bathroom, we have storage that is mounted up along all 3 walls here with some towel bars. We have a mirror, obviously, and a small lavatory sink. And down lower, we are using a composting toilet. So we do not have a black tank, we only have a gray tank that is available. And Steve modified this so that the composting toilet that comes with a jug for your pee, now the pee is actually piped directly into the gray tank. You ready? The last thing that's in here, this is just kind of a little silly thing, but if we need the privacy, we have the ability to draw a curtain across and have our privacy.
Okay, one of the last areas in the camper is the control center. The control center is in a space that's 6 inches wide and about 10 inches deep, and it runs floor to ceiling. In this particular case, at the ceiling level, there is a hole that goes out onto the roof where the solar charge controller cabling comes in. Right inside of here at the top here, we have a dual gauge set here for the gray tank and one for the fresh tank, which is not yet installed. We have a cellular modem we have as many as 16 channels of temperature control, which are used mostly for freeze control and control of the hydronic heating system and of the heat exchanger for the hot water heater. Down here we have the controller for the air diesel heater. Now we have the controller for the water diesel coolant heater, the battery management system, which reads out all the battery statistics, and the 4,000 watt inverter control panel. Okay, at the bottom of the control center column, one of the reasons why this is a column is because, as you can see here, I have a large mound of cables and tubing. The water tubing comes from the wet bay, which is underneath of me, and the electrical bay is on the other side. And so all this electrical cabling goes and comes through this cover right here, comes into the control panel, and we start at the bottom with the 120 volt circuit panel. Then we have a 12 volt panel for the thermal protection system, and then we have two other 12 volt panels for all the rest of the controls in the camper. Moving up to the remote control for the MPPT charge controller, and then I have two power meters because I have two DC to DC converters. The one that's on that you can see is the 12 volt system for all the camper systems, and the one that's off is for the heater systems for the freeze protection. Moving up to the top is where we have the switch bank, and there's 3 rows of switches and dimmers in here that control all the lighting in the camper except for a couple of local switches, but that's most everything. And last but not least, this door, since it doesn't need to be accessed, but we did want to have a very convenient way to get in and out of the bunk. This is a folding ladder that swings down and rests against the wall, so this is a pretty substantial means of getting in and out. It's not a step, but it's not a ladder either. So it's a boat ladder is really what it is, if you know boats.
What you are hearing there is our roof hatch just opened. And up in the bunk, we have this huge roof hatch, which we can open and close. It actually helps with airflow between this hatch and the back hatch. That's how we get a lot of natural airflow through the camper. And obviously some light, because now you can see me. We have a queen size bed in here. It sits on top of a Froley, which makes this very comfortable. And we have some additional storage. So we have more of the same kitchen bins in here with little lids, and they just sit along the side of the mattress. And then we have a set of bigger bins. We actually just expanded that not too long ago, so we have some bigger bins on Steve's side, and we use that for storage. We have a hamper that hangs up when it's set up. It's not set up right now. This is our entertainment area where we have a television and we have a Blu-ray DVD player that we get to use when we're just lounging around. And one of the best parts about this bunk is I can sit fully upright. So we are not cramped up here at all. It makes for a great little area to even just lounge. Even in a small space, and the two of us really like each other, sometimes you need a little space apart. So this is one way we get it. Okay, well now you're up in the bunk and you are looking towards the back of the camper, and what we wanted to show you is the false ceiling. The false ceiling serves several purposes. One is obviously lighting, so we have the indirect lighting on now. That's lighting system number 1. Lighting system number 2 is the brighter lights that are all LED installed in the false ceiling. Third purpose is there's a wire channel in there along the side, so if we have additional wires that we need to run from front to back, we can use the ceiling wire channels. The fourth purpose of the false ceiling is the air ducts that are installed. So there is a set of air ducts that go from front to back of the camper. It actually helps pull all the air from the bunk, whether it's hot or cold, send it all the way back to the back of the camper. Just above the mini split, there is a circulating fan there that helps pull the air through, and actually we create a air circulation and airflow within the camper to cool or heat the camper.
We're going to start our tour on the outside of the camper over here on the driver's side, and really the very first part of it is in the back seat of the truck cab. And back here, what we have is 2 water tanks. We have an 18-gallon tank on this side. We have a 25-gallon tank on the other side. This 25-gallon tank goes floor to ceiling. This 18-gallon tank doesn't. Underneath the 18-gallon tank, we have the water pump and the water valving and the pressure reservoir in here. These are all in insulated boxes with 3/4 of an inch of insulation in them. At the front corner of the camper here, I have 2 diesel fuel fills, one for the main tank and one for a 15-gallon auxiliary tank. My 15-gallon auxiliary tank's primary function is to form a reserve for the vehicle, but it's also the diesel tank for the diesel heaters that I use inside. I can transfer fuel between the 2 tanks. Underneath of the fuel fills is the shore power hookup, 120 volt hookup, and I also have a city water fill here. The front driver's side cargo box is the location for the power system equipment. Inside of here, only about 1/3 of it is actually full of power equipment. You can see in the back here there's power cords and where the shore power cord goes. Starting from the back to the front, in the back you can see this gray box here is a solar charge controller. I have a 800 watt pure sine inverter here that provides constant power into the camper for the residential fridge. And then the main inverter, it's a 4,000 watt inverter, is right here. You can just barely see a piece of it. And you can see, of course, all of the breaker systems and power control equipment. Main power shunt measures all the power in and out of the battery disconnect. This is a 40 amp DC-DC converter that converts 24 volts down to 12 volts for the camper. And this is the same thing in 30 amps that provides power for the anti-freeze protection system. Some of the outside features of the camper here starts right here with a air coupler for the onboard air system. I have air couplers on both sides so I can air up my tires. Inside this louvered grill here is the air conditioning system. This is the condensing unit of a 9,000 BTU LG mini split system. It draws air in from beneath and exhausts it out the side. Going backwards, so I have another insulated, all my baggage boxes are insulated with 3/4 inches of polyisocyanurate. And inside this one is our leveling blocks, our gray water hose, and some other miscellaneous items. At the back corner here, the only thing of note is this exhaust pipe. This is the diesel heater exhaust. The diesel heater is inside underneath of the kitchen cabinet, and this is where its exhaust comes out. So it's completely separated from any doors or windows. Also note that all of our windows are double pane, heavily tinted windows with no opening screens in them. We use our doors and our roof hatches for all of our ventilation, and so these are highly insulated and prevent any sun from coming in the camper that would heat it. On the rear of the camper, we have a couple of things of interest. Our spare tire mounts up here, it's up high. The tire itself weighs a little over 100 pounds. There's a small winch inside of here that lowers this tire and this entire frame. So you can see that the traction mats are attached to the frame. This blue thing is a frame which guides the tire up. To bring it down, I have a winch control right here. I remove this coupling right here and I couple on a winch controller, and that allows me to unbolt and lower the tire to the ground. It also serves as a platform for locking my traction mats on here so they don't go anywhere. And the other part of the camper that's of interest is Cheryl already talked to you about how the back hatch is a key feature of it. And normally speaking, this is latched, but it just so happens to have it latched. So this is what it looks like when it's open. As you can see, we have our bug screen inside here, which keeps any bugs from coming out. But also this lower door opens and lowers down. Just throw 2 latches and this door can actually open up completely. This is really only for bringing large equipment in and out. At some point in time, it's going to become a dog patio when it gets mounted out right here. But for right now, it's just the back door. On the back of the camper, one of the more significant features of this camper that's different from a lot of other truck campers, it has a 30-degree departure angle. So the back of the camper is cut off at 30 degrees and slopes all the way down here. One of the things that interferes with this 30 degrees right now is this hitch. This hitch is intended to be going away sometime in the future with something that folds up underneath up to this point right here, so it doesn't get in the way. But right now, this is just the factory tow hitch for this vehicle. Some of the other things that are under here is this 32-gallon gray tank is also cut off at the 30-degree departure angle, and on the side of it over here on the side, this is where we dump. We have a macerator pump over here which pumps the gray water out, comes out right here. Our gray water dump hose is a 3/4-inch garden hose. We do not use a 3-inch stinky slinky that most other campers use because we don't have a black tank. We have a composting toilet and there's no need for a large diameter sewage hose. One of the benefits of this is that it allows us to dump virtually anywhere. We've dumped in pit toilets and campgrounds. We can reach septic tanks in people's houses. We can go all the way into a toilet if it's not too far in the garage. We've made lots of different beneficial features of having a long hose with its pumped waste. One of the other parts of this camper is this camper is not rigidly mounted to the frame. You can see the frame of the truck is right here, and this bottom support here, this is a steel rail that the camper sits on, and this top portion here is the camper mount, and it all meets to get in the middle right here on a 1-inch diameter pin that allows the camper to pivot on that pin. And that way the truck can move underneath the camper. Here we are on the passenger side, just the 2 storage boxes on the passenger side. This rear box is firewood, freshwater hose. Again, this box is insulated. One of the things I didn't mention before is that I have access through the camper floor into 3 of these 4 boxes, and this is the one box where there is no access through the floor. But that's kind of key when you talk about the fact that this is the wet bay. On the other side on the front is electrical bay. How do you get power to and from the camper from those boxes? Well, there's a 4-inch hole through the floor that communicates directly with that bay, so that there's no having to snake wires. It's very easy to get wire and stuff in and out. So this is the wet bay. Inside of the wet bay, we have a number of different systems in here. We have a reverse osmosis water purification system that uses carbon filters, and here's the reverse osmosis filter here. And key about the reverse osmosis system is this device here, which is called a permeate pump. If you want to know more about how to make a reverse osmosis system work effectively in an RV, you need a permeate pump, and I have some information on that. I have 2 small manifolds in here, a cold water and hot water manifold to distribute water to the inside fixtures. Up above in the back here, I have a heat exchanger that uses engine coolant to heat hot water. Behind this whole block of thing is electric 2.5-gallon water tank that heats the water, and on the left-hand side over there is the storage reservoir for the reverse osmosis water. Electrically inside of here, there's a bunch of heating and temperature monitoring going on here. So this is the electrical panel for what's going on inside. And again, all these white 3/8-inch PEX tubes go through a hole in the floor into the camper to reach each of the different fixtures. Getting into the camper is a little bit different than most other campers. We have a typical RV door latch that opens and the door latch is back. But in this case, our ladder is designed to come out and hang on this rung right here. So we have a nice broad platform, 2 steps to get in. It does not sit on the ground, so you never have to worry about the level of the coach or the camper. But one of the things about it is you can't sneak up on anybody either, because as soon as you step on the ladder, it tilts the camper a little bit. Some other features we have in the Starship Enterprise is a fairly complex system of gauging and control system here, all centered right in the center of the vehicle right here. So what we have going on here kind of starts at the top here. We have a rear view LCD. This is not actually a mirror. This is a camera that photographs out the front and attaches to a rear view camera, so we can see front and rear, and plus record. So if we're ever in an accident, we hopefully will have a recording of the accident. But I normally have this set up so I can watch the front of the vehicle and the rear of the vehicle together on the same monitor. It takes GPS data also, well, GPS and time data, so it'll record all of the things that are going on around the vehicle. Down in the center here, I have a 10-inch Samsung tablet running a program called Torque Pro. The Torque Pro is an application which interfaces with an OBD Bluetooth device to give me all of my parameters that are available on the engine here. So this is you know, RPM, engine oil, transmission. You can see what it is. But the other thing about it is I also have all my fuel injection data here, and I can also have, in this particular case, location data and pitch and roll of the vehicle. Moving down a little farther, this right here is a toe brake control that allows us to operate the brake in our Jeep. The head unit for the stereo not only provides music for us, but it also, we have a second camera which we have mounted high up on the back of the camper so we can monitor the tow connection between the truck and the Jeep, and that's what we watch here. Okay, and then down here in the center is a fairly robust set of instruments. On the left hand side is here the top row here. This is I have a second alternator operating at 24 volts that charges my my camper battery, and you can see right now the camper battery is at 28.3 volts. It's the temperature of the alternator is at 35.5 degrees centigrade, and this is the switch here that if I want to turn the secondary alternator on, I have to do that in order to actually turn it on. So I have a choice of whether I want to charge or not. This dial over here allows me to watch the voltage and amperage that the alternator is producing and vary the output voltage of the alternator to achieve the charge that I want. In many cases, if the battery state of charge is low, this will charge way too much, and so I dial the regulator down to only allow it to charge, you know, up to about 100 amps. This is a 220 amp alternator, and it will put out a lot of power. It'll put out probably 200 amps into the battery if I let it. That's a little bit too scary. Down here on the bottom, I have a similar situation for the 12 volt alternator. You can see the engine's off. We're measuring 12.7 volts. And that alternator is at 50 degrees centigrade. So these two devices here, this device is actually a thermostat. So if this gets above 120 degrees centigrade, which you can see right there, it will actually shut off the secondary alternator and stop charging because it's too hot. Here I have a control that allows me to transfer fuel from my spare tank to my main tank. This is actually an obsolete system being replaced. These were airbag controls, and these were airbag gauges for front and rear airbags. The airbags are no longer present, so this is just superfluous. But I still have an onboard air compressor. This is the air compressor. This is what allows me to turn the air compressor on. And this is the temperature of the air compressor. This is an intermittent duty air compressor, and running it too long to fill up my big tires will overheat it, and this will actually shut it off and prevent it from burning it out. But that's what I have. Okay, and now for the topside tour. The hatch over the roof bunk is over the bunk is about 2.5 feet by 5 feet wide. It's quite large. It's the same size as one of these solar panels, of which you can see that there are 5 of these on the roof. These panels are 190 watts each, so there's a total of 950 watts on the roof. There's also 4 ventilation fans up here, one in the bunk, one in the dinette, one in the bathroom, one in the shower. And the only other thing that's up here is this. This is the MIMO directional cellular antenna, which stands up, and I will have a video on that at some point in time. But that's what's on the roof. Well, thank you everyone for coming by to see our camper. We're excited to show it off. We're headed to the Truck Camper Adventure Rally next week, where we'll meet a lot of like-minded people, and they'll also be able to get to see it.
If you enjoy building your own camper, renovating a van, a trailer, I'm sure you'll find some new inspiration and tips from Steve's work.
And thank you for coming by.
Oops, dude over.
Everybody likes a nice ass. Nobody likes a smart ass.
Smart ass. That's me. Oh, it's been a wonderful year, honey.
It has. We've done lots of miles.
Lots of miles.
No big breakdowns.
Oh, 2 big hiccups. Solar panels and a leaky window.
Yeah.
Other than that, Maximus has been perfect.
And a leaky fuel tank.
It's been a perfect first year, dear.